In a world, Alf, that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, I think we can all pretty much agree on this fact. I've got some numbers that might be a little shocking to you. Sports card numbers that will shock you. Stick around. What's going on, sports card hobby family? It is another day. It is another sports card video. A little bit running behind today. It's been a Monday. It's been crazy busy. So thanks very much for hanging out with me here today. Shout out to Brendan for the new thumbnail picture. I was like, damn, that actually looks really creative and cool. I'm throwing it up there today. Huge shout out to today's video sponsor, COMC.com. 35 million cards in the database. You run cards at auction. You can grade with them. You can do all sorts of buy, sell goodness on COMC.com. I've got links down below to start your journey today. If you happen to be at the National, you want to drop off cards, they're going to have a huge booth at the National in Cleveland to take those orders in. So bring them on in. 10% off SlabMags with the Sports Card Dad code. SlabMags. SlabMags. All right, I love when I get to showcase another channel doing some great work, and there's so many out there, and over the years I've highlighted so many of them here on my channel because there's a lot of really good research that's being done. My friends, with all of the BS hype machine crap for new product and all the new stuff, I think it's really good to balance it all out with some actual research on supply, demand, and important cards, iconic cards, and so forth. So shout out to my buddy Ryan at 80 Star Basketball Cards. That is the YouTube channel. And he did a video, I think earlier today, very interesting, comparing population counts. For those that don't know what I'm talking about, population for grading. So total graded copies from the major grading companies. He's got 51 Bowman Mantle rookie, 52 Topps, first Topps card for Mantle, 84 Star 101 Jordan, 86 Fleer Jordan. And so it might startle you to know, I actually didn't know this until I saw the video, 51 Bowman Mantles. How long have they been grading those? A long time, since 1990 or 1991, probably when PSA opened their doors. So we're talking math, 33 years, roughly? A lot of years, 33 years. They've been grading both the 51 Bowman and 52 Topps Mantle. And over all those years, the 51 Bowman Mantle, if we're looking at BGS, BVG, 260, SGC 912, PSA 2019 currently, for approximately 3,200 cards that have been graded by the major grading companies. And keep in mind, there's going to be folks that cracked a card out of a slab to resend it. Hopefully they didn't put the damn juice on it and then send it back in. But we know that that's a thing in our hobby. And so the worst case scenario is that nobody ever did that for 51 Bowman cards and you've got 3,200 graded copies out there. Probably a lot less, right? Because some people have, of course, cracked it out, sent it to another company, or cracked it out, sent it back to PSA or whatever and tried to get a better grade. 52 Topps Mantle, BGS, BVG 185, SGC 663, PSA about 1,600 copies for approximately 2,400 copies of the iconic, beautiful card, 52 Topps Mantle. Amazing card. And, and one could argue the best card in our hobby. It's a top 3 card all time. Honus Wagner T206, you could throw a couple of other cards in there, but this is the creme de la creme, the top of the food chain for sports cards. 51 Bowman Mantle, 52 Topps Mantle. Now, I've made statements here that I think that Michael Jordan is this generation, last generation, the next generation's Mickey Mantle. I think that he is going to be that popular globally. He already is. But it's amazing to me how many young people obviously never got to watch Jordan play, but are just now seeing highlights of the guy. They're big LeBron fans or Kobe or whatever. And then they watch Jordan and they're like, oh, wow, okay. Now I understand what all the hype is about, what all the hoopla is about. Yeah, Michael Jordan was like from another galaxy. I watched all 6 of his titles starting when I was 10 years old. It was incredible to watch. Let's look at the pop counts for the Star Jordan 101. BGS about 1,200 copies, and they were the only ones grading Star Jordans for a long time, 20 plus years. PSA has 270 copies, so there is almost 1,500 copies, and that's all for the Star Jordan 101. That is less than half of the 51 Bowman, and it's almost half of the 52 Topps. And one might say like, oh yeah, but I mean, PSA just started grading these. They just started grading these 2.5 years ago now. So wouldn't you think that if you're somebody that's holding a bunch of raw copies of Star Jordan 101s, that you would go ahead and get those graded now that PSA is grading those? I mean, look, if you look at the 270 that are in a PSA slab, a lot of those most likely were cracked out of a BGS slab and sent over to PSA. I mean, that's just kind of an obvious thing that most likely happened. Sure, there were some that were raw copies, ungraded copies that went, but I bet there's a pretty high percentage. I bet it's at least 50 to 60%, at least, of the 270 that were crossed over from BGS because they were the only graded copies, and that people could see like, okay, well, if this was a BGS 8, maybe I can get a PSA 8. Well, I think that's only happened maybe a couple of times. The PSA grades, historically, so far over the last 2.5 years for the 101 Jordan, have come back lower, a grade, sometimes 2 grades, sometimes 3 grades lower than the BGS grade. So that probably means a lot of people, if they're not sure about their BGS copy and it's sitting in a 7 or an 8, and it's kind of a wonky copy that maybe slightly overgraded potentially, they're probably like, I'm good. I don't need this to be a PSA 5. I'll just keep it in a BGS 7. And that's where it sits. The 86 Fleer, BGS, 14,000 copies approximately, SGC almost 4,000, PSA 24,000 and change. So we've got about 42,000 and change. Over the last 5 months, the increase on the 52 Topps Mantle, 35 new copies on the population, 64 new copies for the 101 Star Jordan, and over 1,200 new copies of the 86 Fleer Jordan just in the last 5 months. Another reason why I say I will have an 86 Fleer Jordan, but I'm not in a huge hurry. Also, of course, just like we're talking about with cracking and resending to try to get a better grade, the Jordans that got a PSA 7, 8, 9, those numbers are going to be inflated because you know that there's people that cracking them out of the 7, trying to get an 8, trying to get a 9, 9's trying to get a 10. You know, everybody's trying to bump up their grade somehow. And so, yes, this is kind of a worst case scenario. Are there actually 42,000? No, there's going to be less because this number is taking into account the crack and the sending back. You could probably, I'm just guessing, but I'm sure you could probably knock off 5,000, maybe even 10 off of that 42,000 number, just based on people trying to crack and reslab those things. But when people get all up in arms about pricing on the 84 Star Jordan, these are the numbers that matter. These are the numbers that matter. And I know that nobody seems to get that. My God, I have seen so many people speak up on the topic of the 84 Star Jordan. Oh, everyone's got to get their opinion in. They have done zero research in the cards. They know nothing about the cards at all. And if you want real research, if you want to go check it out, and by the way, Ryan at 80 Star Basketball Cards used to be a heavy Fleer collector. Still has Fleer cards, likes Fleer cards, but realized that, hey, you know what? These Star Basketball cards, I think I had this wrong. So Ryan, great channel to go and do more research on this particular topic. You can also go to starbasketballcards.com, basketballgold.com, and I'll also put a link in the description for a Star Basketball Card Facebook group, and that's another great resource. A lot of people, like-minded people that are talking about this. But the reason why I say that this stuff is important, this doesn't necessarily just apply to these cards. You know, the thinking has got to shift from the stupid ass marketing of new product, you know, get in before it's too late. Get in this break before it's too late. You almost get the feeling like, oh my God, you're never going to have another opportunity to own these cards. You got to buy this box. You got to get on these breaks. It's just so bad. It's so dumb. The repack deal, there are so many crap repacks. Are there some that are probably fine? Yeah. Out of the zillion different repack options, there's bound to be some that are decent, but there's so much garbage out there. The sad part to me is new people coming back in or getting in for the first time thinking like, that's how the sports card hobby operates now. Instead of going to Kmart with the blue light special to get that $1 pack of cards, now you go onto a live selling platform and you get in on a horrible repack that you just blew all your money on, or a break or whatever. And it's just like, that is one world, one part of this world, but it's just one part of this world. So I hope people find videos like this that are actually talking numbers as to why things are the way that they are, and it's simply just supply demand. And for me, a lot of my decision making has been popular IP or players with cards that are in low supply that maybe other people just aren't chasing right now. And that's great. That means that the prices are going to be lower than all of the hyped up or just the thing that the hobby told us is the thing. You know, like everybody's got to get this because the hobby says so and has. I'm going to zag and I'm going to go do things that make sense, that actually I can see with my own eyes and just make sense and not keep on buying things where it's just like, oh, you know what though? That's popular. That's popular. That's why it's so expensive. I know there's a lot of them. I know that there's a trillion of them, but they're popular right now. And that's why it's so expensive. That is the most vulnerable place to be in, no matter what card we are talking about. Most of it applies to ultra modern cards. You know, when you're buying the new, you know, the Wembanyama is such a great example of this because he's just got so many cards, so many different rookies. You don't think that they printed a lot of this stuff? And we haven't even gotten to the Topps Chrome stuff that's really going to start coming. It's going to dwarf everything that we've seen. You know, Zion print runs. I think that Wemby stuff is going to be just bananas. I think it's going to be 1992 Shaquille O'Neal cards. Classic. Fleer Ultra. Stadium Club. You know, people think I'm stupid and like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what you're talking about. Actually, I've already seen it happen. I already lived it before. I still have those cards that are still not worth anything. And Shaquille O'Neal is one of the best big men of all time. If Wemby has a Shaq career with his numbers, that's probably the best case scenario for Wemby. So, I mean, yeah. I mean, but we can just keep on following and listen to whatever the new product this and new product that. Here's the deal, guys. Look at the price of that new product. I saw Neo talking about new baseball. I think it was Topps Chrome baseball product or something. It's like $300 or $400 for a mega box, $400 for a mega box, $200 for a hobby box. That stuff adds up really, really quickly. $400 or $500 is just a drop in the bucket with new product. Man, you can spend that in seconds. You can spend that. Whereas $400 or $500 will get you a really nice vintage card. It'll get you a nice 80s basketball card. It'll get you a nice Tom Brady card. It's not as if the legends don't have any cards that are within your price point. You know, Tom Brady's got dollar cards. He's got 50-cent cards, dollar cards, and he's got six-figure cards. Michael Jordan's the same story. I'm ranting a little bit, my friends, but I wanted to share this again, shouting out my friend's channel here, and just I like the fact that he's kind of drilled down into a niche that he's enjoying. It's the 80s basketball cards that he really likes. If you want to get educated on that particular set for this channel, that's great. And I do wish there was more channels kind of like this to where it was like they niched down into like, I don't know, 90s action-packed football card channel. How sweet would that be? You know, if we kind of had like niche channels for everything and then you could really dive in on pricing and, you know, design and the history of those cards. Maybe eventually we'll get there, but really enjoyed this guy's passion in his video. So make sure to check out that channel. Friends, have an amazing day ahead. Stay healthy, stay awesome, and I will talk to you again later.